Okay, so I'm going camping again this weekend, and I am going with a bunch of friends, and I want to do something a little different and like a little special. So I'm gonna make some dough tonight, and then bring it with me when I go camping, and hopefully it'll turn out good, cooked on a cast iron skillet over the campfire. That's the hope. So I have my ghee here. That's what I use mostly instead of any sort of oil. So I'm gonna do probably just like 2 spoonfuls of that, and I'm gonna melt it down so that it's liquid. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, this is what I have in the bowl. I'm gonna melt that down in the microwave. Then while that's melting, I'm gonna combine some flour, some sugar, some salt, and a little bit of baking soda and baking powder in a bowl. So I'm not really measuring anything fully. I make this bread pretty often. I just cook it as like a flat bread usually. I'll cut it into like fist-sized portions and roll it out into like basically a naan bread type of shape. So I'm not really measuring anything, but I'll show you what I have. So I have this much flour. It's about like one of my knuckles deep, but yeah. Then our ghee is all the way melted. It's a little bit hot, so I'm a little bit afraid to grab it. So I'm gonna put this over here with our other ingredients and then get some other things going on in here. Okay, so I'm gonna also add a little bit of sugar. Honestly, like it's probably like a teaspoon of sugar, maybe a tablespoon. Yeah, I have like just like a small little palmful of sugar, and I'll put that in there. And then I'm gonna do also about the same amount of salt, like a small little palmful. I don't know if you can see. Put that in there. And then for baking soda and baking powder, I'm gonna do a little bit less. So it's like maybe half a teaspoon of that. That's the baking powder, and then for baking soda, it's a little bit too much. Also about maybe half a teaspoon of baking soda. Put all that in there, and then I'm gonna mix up my dry ingredients. Okay, so once my dry ingredients are all mixed together, I'm gonna get a little cup of warm water from the sink. Just tap water, it's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna make my water warm, and then just get a little bit in a cup. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. I think that's good. And that's gonna go in our dough. Okay, so I'm gonna add in my melted down ghee, and I'm gonna mix that into my dough. And once it's pretty much all out of the bowl, set that down, mix this up. It's not really gonna fully incorporate yet, and that's okay. Just want it to be as incorporated as it can be for now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in maybe about half of my water. I don't need to add in all of it yet. And the water is really, you just kind of add it in slowly as you go to the right consistency that you want your dough to be at. Okay, so right now, this is the consistency of my dough. You can see that it's not totally dough-like yet. It's still a bit crumbly. So now I'm gonna knead it into a more doughy consistency. Just kneading all of this dough to make sure that it's really, really incorporated. That we get like a nice doughy consistency. If you notice that you need more water, you can add more water. But be pretty sparing with the water as you add it, because you don't want to make your dough too wet. Okay, so this is the consistency of my dough now. As you can see, it's a lot more incorporated. It's still a little bit flaky, but that's okay. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to start to section it out and add in some different ingredients to make it a sweet cinnamon flatbread dough. Okay, so I'm going to melt down like a little glaze that I'm gonna coat each of my dough balls with. So I'm gonna melt down a little spoonful of ghee. Once I'm done melting it, I'm gonna put in some cinnamon, some nutmeg, maybe some cloves. We'll see what we're feeling and what might taste yummy. Also maybe some sugar or some brown sugar. Okay, so I'm gonna flour my countertop here so that I have like a nice place to roll out my dough. Okay, it's okay that it's a little bit flaky. That's okay. Roll this out. I knead it a little bit into the shape that I want it to be. I want it to be a nice ball, and then I'm going to start cutting it into different sections. Okay, so I'm going to grab my bread knife and I'm just going to cut this into several different chunks. I think I want the chunks to be pretty individually sized. So I think I'm gonna cut them pretty small. I'm basically cutting like I would be cutting a pie or a pizza right now because I made that ball shape. So then I can cut these triangles into smaller, more individually sized pieces. See? So I have all of these individually sized pieces. They're all balls that are about the size of my palm-ish, and that's pretty good. I'm pretty content with that. So I have 8 pieces in front of me, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I think I'm gonna leave it like this, and then I'm gonna prep them to come camping. Okay, so let's make our glaze. So we have our melted ghee here. I have some cane sugar, and then some different spices that I'm gonna throw in here. Okay, so I'm gonna put in a decent amount of sugar. A heavy helping of cinnamon. That's gonna be the main flavor factor that I want to come through. Just a little bit of nutmeg, not too much. I don't want it to overpower the cinnamon. Oh, I wish I had cardamom. That would be so good in this. And then I also have this ambiguous pumpkin spice flavoring, which I think is like mostly cloves, but there's also like cinnamon and nutmeg in it as well. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of that, not too much. And then I'm gonna mix this up really nice. So now I end up with this kind of like brownish, blackish sludge. And that's okay, that's good. That's what we want it to look like. Okay, so I decided I'm gonna change my plan a little bit. I'm gonna make like basically little mini cinnamon roll buns. So I'm bringing out I'm kind of like pressing out my dough. If you have a rolling pin, you could use a rolling pin instead, but I don't really use a rolling pin that often. So I'm just kind of pressing my dough out, and then I'm gonna paint that cinnamon sugar mixture onto my dough, and then I'm gonna roll it up like how you would with like a cinnamon roll. And then I'm gonna cut them into like small little bite-sized pieces because I think that is what will cook the easiest on a campfire. And then also to seal my dough, because my dough is a little bit flaky, I am going to use a little bit of extra water on my fingertip, and I'm going to just paint the edges of my dough. So you have a little bit extra here. I'm just going to paint the edges of my dough with this warm water in my fingertip and then roll it real nice and tight and press it all together, just like this. I'm pinching and pressing, and then we're gonna end up with this little this little joint. And then whenever I'm done making all of them, I'll chop them up into little bite-sized pieces. Okay, so I rolled out all of these different things, these little cubes or little circles of dough, and they have that mixture, that cinnamon mixture inside of them. So now I'm gonna slice them into individual little bite-sized pieces.
All alone in the wasteland, alone is the only way that they let you in. So drink all my wine, cut all my trees, make love on my beach.
Okay, so now, of course, we have to fry one up to try it and make sure that they're edible, because I've never made these before. I just kind of made it up as I was going. So I'm gonna grab a few pieces, throw them on the fryer, see what we think.
We don't know what to let in, 'cause the new one.
That's gonna be so good while camping. Oh my gosh. Look at that. He's a little hot.
Blinded by your shadow.
Oh, it's gonna be so delicious while camping. Imagine that over a campfire. That's what the inside looks like.
You don't know how
That's so good. It's gonna be like, it's like doughy on the inside and a little crisp on the outside.
So drink all my wine, cut all my trees.
I'm doing this every time I go camping now.
Love on my beaches.
I'm doing this whenever I'm home. Holy crap, these are so busting.
I am California. Can't you see? Wherever you roam, you'll always want me.
I'm a genius.